Recently, Kagurabachi has massively picked up the pace. And yes, I am aware that our information is still severely lacking because Hokuzono has some deranged obsession with edging us for weeks on end, but I'm gonna choose to make this video anyway. Will it be accurate? Probably not. Does that matter? No, because I'll simply make it again later on so we can actively see our favorite characters getting stronger as the story progresses. But for now, enough time has passed. Therefore, it's time to rank and explain all 32 relevant and somewhat scalable sorcerers in Kagurabachi so far. So make sure to like the video if you want to see more, subscribe to the channel, and let's get right into it. Oh, and if you're only interested in the top 10, then skip to this timestamp. Okay, let's begin by absolutely blitzing through the irrelevant fodder sorcerers so we can get to ranking all of the off-screen merchants and aura farmers as soon as possible. And also because I like retention, duh. Anyway, since Kagurabachi doesn't have a ranking system of their own, I'm going to be using Jujutsu Kaisens. And to be clear, I am literally only using the grade names, so don't overthink it. I don't want to hear any
"Oh, special grade means you can beat a nation"
bullshit. In grade 4 and in 32nd place on the list, I have put the Hatshaku sorcerer known as Toto that was introduced during the recent arc. She is here because she is a crybaby bum, plain and simple. Her partner is out here fighting main characters, meanwhile she's lying on the floor crying like a little baby. Taste testing blood to identify Samura's daughter is clearly the only reason that she's useful to the Hatshaku. Certified bum. The only other certified bum that I'm putting in grade 4 is the puppet sorcerer that hunts Chihiro and Char in the beginning of the manga. I mean, there's no point having loads of you if every single one of you is a fraudulent NPC. Now, grade 3 actually has some pretty decent sorcerers, but they simply aren't on the same level as those above them. In 30th, I have the trauma sorcerer that can make you see visions of your past trauma. It's a very good ability against amateurs, but as Chihiro demonstrated, against a competent fighter it will only motivate them further, especially when you use it on the antagonist of that arc and the main character. You're kind of just asking for defeat at that point. Now, position 29 goes to Hiyuki's right-hand man, Tafuku, simply because we haven't seen him do much. His domain expansion like sorcery that lets him create a separate space for Hiyuki to fight in is very valuable, but he himself hasn't really shown much. And at the top of grade 3 and in 28th position, I put Daruma, the bomb sorcerer who attempts to kidnap Char in the beginning of the manga. Now, he really was not actually bad by any means, and his sorcery seemed pretty damn potent, but I'm pretty sure that he's just another basic sorcerer in Japan who can't compete with the elites. Now, grade 2 is where things start to get really interesting. In 27th, 26th, and 25th is Moku, Sumi, and Ro in that specific order. These guys are the elite ninjas known as the Masumi who are currently helping Chihiro get Iori Samura to safety. They were once the protectors of Samura himself and were the only ones capable of fighting by his side due to their insane stealth abilities. They're highly skilled with weapons and are strong enough to cut down multiple Daten Seki enhanced assassins, which is no easy feat. Even without actual sorcery, their combat skills and reputation alone are enough to earn them a spot in grade 2. Now in the 24th position, I have placed Kiyora Sazanami, which may actually sound controversial, but please just hear me out. Kiyora's ISO sorcery was replaced when the Sazanami's prize storehouse ability was passed down to him, and in Kiyora's storehouse he is basically God. He can completely control the space and fight on even footing with Chihiro. However, Chihiro entered that space willingly. Normally, a sorcerer not already registered in the storehouse can actually resist being moved by Kiyora, meaning he can't force people down there. Outside of the storehouse, he has nothing but an ability to summon weapons and basic spirit energy enhancement, which isn't really enough to compete with the top tiers of the Kagurabachi universe. Magatsumi Kiyora is definitely top 5, maybe even top 3, but I'm not counting that. Now I have decided that the Kamanabi's anti-Cloud Gouger squad will be filling positions 23 to 18 in the rankings, with Kiyohiko Uzuki in 23rd, Makoto Kasahara in 22nd, Hajime Kugura in 21st, Shiyumi Harima in 20th, Kazane Machi in 19th, and Captain Ikuto Hagiwara in 18th. This is the Kamanabi's anti-Cloud Gouger squad, aka the Levi squad. If you know, you know. Rest in peace, Petra. Individually, these sorcerers are nothing incredible, but they aren't any laughing matter either, since they were able to severely injure Sojo. Their strength comes from their great team chemistry and a range of abilities that complement each other on the battlefield. Kiyohiko seems to have some sort of binding sorcery. Makoto seems like he can enlarge parts of his hands, like Luffy. Hajime can harden his body, much like my red-haired goat, Kirishima. Shiyumi Yumi has straight up earthbending, which we all know is one of the coolest abilities in fiction ever. And she also has it on a crazy scale because look at the size of what she's lifting. That's literally a small island right there. The only reason my goat Kazane is above her is because Kazane here is the potential man of Kagurabachi. He is the Megami, and his secret weapon that the Kamanabi hype up so much is his Maharaga. I won't get into the Kazane agenda too much, but mark my words, he will be higher than grade 2 by the end of the story. Now, Ikuto is the captain of the squad and one of Azami's best men. His sorcery is called Jikai, and he uses magnetic forces to attract and repel on a pretty damn powerful scale. Ikuto and Kazane are actually the only survivors, but are currently missing limbs, which makes me think that Hokazono has reserved a spot for them in the future of the story, hence why I'm placing them at the top of the squad. Chekhov's gun and all that, you know? Next up is actually another elite squad known as the Toe. The Toe is composed of 4 of Kiyura Sazanami's children and have a duty to defend the Rakizachi auction with their life. I would say Tenri is probably the strongest, followed by Soya, and then Tamaki and Enji in joint last due to being low-key irrelevant to the plot. Each one of them wields the powerful shockwave sorcery known as ISO, which is incredibly dangerous and effective in combat. They are trained from a very young age to have a complete mastery of spirit energy and their ISO technique. Their willingness to lay down their lives fighting also makes them very dangerous opponents. Individually, I actually think each member of the Toe is stronger than each member of the Anti-Cloud Gouger squad. However, if they were to face off as teams, I think the Anti-Cloud Gouger squad would win, mainly due to numbers, but also because of the versatility and variation of their abilities compared to the Toe, who are strictly ISO merchants. But because this is mostly based on individual strength, I have placed the ISO-wielding Toe members higher in grade 2 than the Anti-Cloud Gouger squad. And speaking of Kiyura's children, it's time to discuss the very top spot of grade 2, which I have given to the GOAT himself, Hakuri Sazanami. Now, I was so confused when I saw the supposedly useless Hakuri somehow tank a deadly blow to the face from Hiyuki's Flamebone, but after reading chapter 36, it all started to make sense. Hakuri actually turned out to be a generational genius that can hold 2 types of sorcery at once, the Storehouse and ISO. The reason he couldn't grasp ISO for so long is because he was busy maintaining the Storehouse and protecting himself from his family's abuse. At the moment, he's severely injured, but once he's back up and fully recovered, I think he will easily be stronger than all of his brothers. He might even get a promotion to grade 1 or higher. The potency of ISO, mixed with the invaluable support of the Storehouse sorcery, makes Hakuri a sorcerer worthy of gaining the Hishaku's recognition as a threat. Speaking of the Hishaku, let's start off grade 1 by talking about Chihiro's mirror image, Hirohiko. Hirohiko is currently contracted to Kumayuri, but can't use it since Samura will swoop down and one-shot him. But even without innate sorcery, Hirohiko displays talent and rate of growth similar to Chihiro's level. He was even stronger when he had his origami sorcery, which also proved his talent, because I'm pretty sure that was a mid-technique that he adapted into something deadly. Due to still being inexperienced and portrayed as a student below his masters, he will remain at the bottom of grade 1 for the time being, but I do suspect that will drastically change in the future. Above Hirohiko is the Hishaku member Yura assigned to be Hirohiko's teacher in the art of swordsmanship. Kuguri is a newly introduced character who was one of Yura's candidates for wielding an enchanted blade due to his impressive sword skills. He was very comfortably outmaneuvering base Chihiro and the Masumi ninja using only basic movements and his own katana, no sorcery. Because Yura has faith in him, he's portrayed as a teacher and is highly skilled with an unknown sorcery, I feel comfortable saying that he's probably stronger than Hirohiko right now. Okay, next up in 10th place is none other than Hatshaku, Yura's right-hand man. Although unconfirmed, many believe the vine sorcery actually belongs to him, and it's proven pretty scary so far. The flame Hishaku symbol also allows the use of teleportation. That may not be all it does, but we're not getting into theories right now. And despite not having any crazy impressive feats, Hatshaku's position and simple aura imply that he may be on a similar level to Yura. Also, fun fact, but he was literally getting perception blitzed by Enchanted Blade Samura. So we do have a rough baseline for how the top Hishaku scale in comparison to the sword contractors. Taking 9th place is everyone's favorite antagonist Genichi Sojo. With Cloud Gouger and his immense natural talent, he was able to fight pretty evenly with Chihiro, who had literal years more experience than he did. Sojo also used his mad aura to solo the anti-Cloud Gouger squad, designed specifically to kill him. Bro had that blade for 2 weeks and already had the same level of mastery over it that Chihiro did over N10. He's an absolute goat, and to be honest, I don't think his story is over yet, but unfortunately we will never see his full potential, so he's staying in 9th place for now. In 8th place, I have put John Yura Hishaku himself, and I will admit this one is sketchy. I think he's definitely interchangeable with the character that I put in 7th, so I'll let you guys decide in the comments. One thing I do know about Yura is that he's incredibly smart and very calculated, automatically making him a very dangerous opponent. The community also seems to collectively agree that the vines are not Yura's own innate sorcery, so we haven't seen what he can truly do yet. But in terms of basic movement and martial arts, he was dead-ass putting hands on Cloud Gouger Chihiro. I mean, sure, Chihiro locked in and used cloaking to up his speed, and then became faster than Yura. But Yura was still able to react in time at the expense of an arm, which he then effortlessly reattached to his body before teleporting away. There are lots of crazy theories about how he does all of this, but I won't get into that now. The point is, he's crazy strong and definitely hasn't shown us all he's got yet. Based on Yura's own words though, I know he belongs no higher than grade 1 because he is dead scared of Samura and is also very cautious of Shiba. And in 7th place, I have put the N10 wielding main character Chihiro Rokuhira. I shouldn't even need to explain this one, let's be honest. Bro has insane natural talent and a crazy rate of growth thanks to his Rokuhira Edition 6 Eyes and Blessed genetics. N10 is also incredibly powerful. Kuro is a flying slash and Kuro Shred is basically a malevolent shrine clone. Akka allows Chihiro to absorb and redistribute his opponent's attacks, and to be honest, we need to see more of it. And then finally, Nishiki allows him to massively boost his strength and speed by cloaking himself in high-density spirit energy. And yes, when using Nishiki, Chihiro has surpassed the speed of lightning, which is kind of crazy, especially when you consider how fast that would make characters like Samura. He is the main character too, so I'm sure he'll definitely earn himself a promotion to the top rank in no time, but for now, I've put him as the 2nd highest in grade 1. Okay, in 6th place, and taking the number 1 spot in grade 1 is actually the Kamanabi higher-up and old Seitei War veteran Azami. Now, I'll be honest, I think this guy is definitely special grade level, but I'm putting him here for now simply because of the massive lack of screen time. He has many statements and a lot of aura, but hasn't actually done anything yet, so for now, he's gonna be placed here. However, he is part of the magical Kagurabachi trio that Hokuzono just loves to glaze. Hiyuki is stated to be the Kamanabi's strongest fighter, and Flamebone at full power is also stated to rival the Enchanted Blades. And in Hokuzono's recap of the power hierarchy, he places Azami and Hiyuki in the same tier. There are also many implications from Sojo and others that Azami and Shiba are somewhat relative, and we all know how broken Shiba is. Despite seeing lightning from his fingers a few times, we've never actually seen Azami use his sorcery properly, only basic movements and martial arts, which are already crazy fast and strong. With Azami, Shiba, and Hiyuki forming a triangle of relativity, at least to some degree, it should follow that Azami is one of the sorcerers capable of fighting against wielders of Daten-Seki. After all, he did fight on the front lines of the war alongside Shiba. He's almost definitely special grade, but he's staying at the top of grade 1 until he actually gets some screen time. Sorry, Azami. Anyway, breaking into the top 5 sorcerers, we have Hiyuki Kagari. She is stated to be the Kamanabi's strongest fighter, and her mysterious companion, Flamebone, is also stated to rival the Enchanted Blades. Her only real fight has been against Chihiro, but even then, she was massively holding back in more ways than one. First of all, the Kamanabi only gave her permission to use Flamebone up to the torso, suggesting that it's not at full strength and has kind of levels, you know? Tafuku also outright says that she was holding back against Chihiro, and yet a single blow from Flamebone was too much for Akka to absorb. She also confronted Yura Hatshaku without a lick of hesitation, but he fled like a lil bitch. She has a lot more screen time than Azami, sure, but it's still mostly just statement and aura driven. Without holding anything back though, the power to rival an Enchanted Blade cannot be understated, so she earns herself that 5th place spot in special grade. Now to complete the trio of goats, we have Togo Shiba in 4th place. I'll keep this one very simple because we all know Hokuzono is cooking something with this guy, and it's very clear that he hasn't shown the full extent of his sorcery yet. In the wise words of Enji Sazanami, he's no mere teleporter. Why did Enji Sazanami say this, you ask? Well, it's because Shiba pulled up and 1v3'd the toe without breaking a sweat. Hokuzono also thinks he's slick by hiding what Shiba did to them among a page of craters that you assume would be made by ISO shockwaves. But if you look closer, you will realize that a lot of the damage doesn't look like ISO at all. I mean, it looks like Shiba literally dragged one of them through solid concrete and crushed him into a wall. Shiba has a crazy fast teleportation ability, which is useful for sure, but I don't think his abilities stop there. He literally crushed a floor of solid concrete with only his toes. Honestly, if I was to guess, I would say he has a spatial manipulation ability of sorts that he uses to warp and maybe buff his physical strength. It could also be kinda similar to Yuki's Star Rage from JJK. He's also just hard glazed by Yura, who says Shiba sits at the very pinnacle of the sorcery world, and is someone that the Hatshaku deems a problem alongside other characters like Samura and her Katakuri. Being a Seiti War veteran also just holds a lot of weight, especially since we now know they were fighting beings that had harnessed Datanseki. Bro was also fast enough to snatch Chihiro and Enten right before Samura's feet and got away before Samura could even turn his head. The same Samura that was perception blitzing Hatshaku earlier that day. Okay, I know the comparison is a bit dodgy there, but look, I like Shiba, okay? Just let me have this. Anyway, Shiba is that guy, and I think if I could choose anyone to go up against Samura right now, it would be him. Some will call this glaze, and realistically, you would be absolutely correct, but let's just wait and see, because I think Hokuzono is cooking. Okay, third place is a bit of a weird one, because I'm giving it to someone that we haven't actually even seen fight properly. Well, we have, but not with his enchanted blade, Kumeyuri. That's right, the third place special grade position goes to Uruha, ex-contractor of Kumeyuri. Now, without Kumeyuri, Uruha is objectively weaker than base Samura, but I would still say he is around the Hishaku's level. It's kinda hard to judge that though. But with Kumeyuri, he is simply one of the legendary swordsmen that ended the Seiti War. The implications of the narrative dictate that I literally have to put Prime Uruha in this position, despite never seeing him fight with his blade. It's really as simple as that. And that of course means Samura is the second place, since it's been made very clear that he is just stronger than Uruha, even if they both have their blades, I'll be honest. He is currently one man holding the entire cast of characters hostage, good and bad alike. Samura, contractor of Tobimune, is the man who controlled the war, a blind man who can see everything with his owl ability and cut down anyone in an instant because he is stated to have the fastest sword work out of anybody. This guy literally one-shot the main character before he even had time to react, and Chihiro isn't even trying to use Enten again because he knows he doesn't stand a chance. That is how far above everyone Samura is. Now I'll be real, the only person I feel comfortable saying sits right at the top of the Kagurabachi world is the Kamanabi's caged monster and the contractor of Magatsumi. It is the Swordmaster himself. We have no real feats or information, all we know is that he is a monster who wields the strongest enchanted blade by a long shot. There's literally nothing more to say on it, but I think we can all agree that when this guy had Magatsumi, and maybe even when he doesn't have it, he is the strongest. I also low-key think he's Sojo's older brother, but that's for a whole other video. Remember, this video is a very, very rough ranking that will likely be inaccurate since it's still early days. But the purpose of this video is to set a baseline so that we can revisit this topic after every major arc and re-rank everyone based on what we have learnt, as well as adding any new characters to the mix. For now though, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and consider becoming a member. Feel free to join the Discord and follow me on Twitter, links below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in a bit.